Covered in ice and snow, Antarctica is a world away from sunny Singapore. But what happens at the poles don't just stay at the poles. As the world warms, this frozen reservoir of water is melting and fast contributing to rising sea levels.
You need to think about what are the processes that drive sea level rise, and there are two major processes. One is a mass change, the other is a volume change. So a volume change is if you warm up our ocean waters, they occupy a greater space and sea level goes up. The second process is a mass change, the melting of land-based ice on our planet going into our oceans and sea level goes up. So where is our land-based ice? Well, there are two major sources, Greenland and Antarctica. If you melted all of Greenland, would contribute around 6 meters to sea level rise. But Antarctica is massive. Antarctica has enough water within it that if this ice sheet was to melt, sea levels would go up a colossal 65 meters. So therefore, you only need to melt a small percentage to have devastating effects for coastlines around the world, and in particular here in Singapore.
In 2014, scientists estimated that global mean sea levels could go up by almost 1 meter by 2100. But Professor Horton thinks sea levels in Singapore could go up by more than that.
Well, first of all, it's a global mean sea level, and in Singapore we're one of the hot spots. We're a hot spot because we're distal from our ice sheets. So ice sheets are colossal in mass and water is attracted to them. When they reduce in mass, the water flows away to the tropics. So for every 1 meter of rise from Antarctica, we get around 1.2 to 1.3 meters. So first of all, that 1 meter is the global average, and we're greater than that.
Last November, the Straits Times travelled to the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. We had a first-hand look at the planet's largest reservoir of water, locked in ice. Most climate projections are for decades far into the future. But the people who live or work in the region have already observed noticeable changes on the icy continent.
I was fortunate to visit one island 20 years apart, so I could see the changes, the immediate changes in the level of glaciation there. So it's apparent that places we used to ski, we can no longer ski. There are rocks there that were well several meters down, but as well the island is more than a foot out of the water because of isostatic rebound. The weight of ice that was once pushing the island into the ocean has dissipated through global warming, through climate change and glacial melting. And we're seeing many glaciers, almost 90% of the glaciers in the Antarctic Peninsula region retreating because of the warming ocean around the peninsula.
Climate change is not the only threat to this pristine continent of ice and penguins.
Well, we're seeing an increased demand for some of the ocean products of Antarctica, such as krill, for human consumption as krill oil. That's leading to an impact on the higher predators, the penguins and the seals, which has a negative impact on those populations. We're also seeing an increase in tourism. Tourism is really well regulated. Only about 40,000 people go to the Antarctic Peninsula region. Fishing can be regulated, as can tourism, but what we can't regulate is it's climate change, not as quickly as we would like anyway.
The science is clear. With human activities emitting more heat-trapping gases into the atmosphere, the planet's ice sheets could melt at quicker rates. And low-lying island states, such as Singapore, could be bearing the brunt of these changes.